questions. Can I ask you? I got the tail end of that.
Yeah.
And I caught you going back and forth. And you're so tall. Here, can we switch places here? You're so tall. No, what? It felt like you guys were having a good dialogue there.
Yeah.
And it was calm and peaceful. So,
I think so, yeah.
what did he come here? And I noticed the crowd swarmed him. Did that happen, or? Because I was like at the top of the hill when I saw people.
Yeah, I kind of just got here and I just saw a news crew. I saw that it was somebody from CBC, so I was kind of watching. And yeah, people were gathering around, but there was no violence, nothing. Like, nobody was heckling him or being like too intense. People are observing and chanting freedom, and like it's the CBC, so they are the mainstream media reporting the lies that it's the city's paralyzed and that it's under siege and all this crazy stuff.
I feel like he almost admitted some things there.
It seemed like it. It seemed like he's. Like I said, if you're here, you can feel it, and you can't deny it.
Yeah.
All you got to do is walk along the street, and you're not going to be afraid. You're going to see everybody united together. So I know he feels it. He might not say it because obviously he wants to protect his job.
Yeah.
Same reason these cops are still here, because they're just worried.
A lot of them.
They want to
I heard in that conversation, a lot of them are calling in sick.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard on different reports that people are saying, different rumors and whatnot. So. And it makes sense, right? Like, they're normal working class people too.
Yeah.
As much as we might disagree with certain laws that are ridiculous that they enforce.
Yeah. So there was, it's actually on my YouTube channel, but around the same thing, everything seems to happen here. All the actions here.
It is a lot more intense here.
Because they're trying to clear this. Yeah. That's what it is. But they arrested a guy for a jerry can here 2 days ago, and the crowd crowded around and just kept chanting, "Let him go." And some people were saying, "Officers, this is wrong."
Oh, yeah.
And one of them nodded.
They know it. They know.
So I don't know if it's ignorant of me, but I've actually, anyone that's a person of color that I talk to, I say, "What do you think of the symbols of hate that you've seen here? Have you seen symbols of hate?" Because that's a huge. Every Native or Black person I talk to, they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And I say, "Well, I say it because I see it in the news."
Yeah.
I say maybe I don't see it because of I'm white or something. But
it would be a joke if it weren't so tragic, you know what I mean? But it's an example of them trying to use fear to divide people, They say some bullshit like that, and then it prevents more people from coming out and joining. That's what they hope.
There's
but
a
it
huge
doesn't
indigenous
really, because,
population.
Yeah, there's people here of every race, every belief, everything, every background. I took lots of videos on Sunday of plenty of people of color speaking up at the main stage, and there's been lots of people of every ethnicity, every background here. There's no displays of hate. I've seen no swastikas. I've seen no Confederate flag. I know there was pictures here and there, but
everything's rumors, right?
Yeah.
And someone told me, they said the guy with the Confederate flag had a ski mask on, and a guy with a big Sony camera was following him around.
Yeah,
and that seems suspicious.
It looked extremely suspicious. And if we look at the past, you look at any major protest, you look at any major issue with government or issue with police where people stand up, the police put in agent provocateurs.
I was called a nutbag today.
No. It's documented, that's recorded. There's lots of people who do what you do at other protests, and they catch them doing it, and they follow them back to their units, or they show their boots that are clearly police boots.
Yeah.
Lots of things like that. So I think the Confederate flag guy was probably a plant. The fact that he was being followed around by a guy with a big intense camera.
I think some of the homeless people here, they were wearing raggedy clothes, but they were clean. And I was and one guy who was homeless had a dog that looked like it just came from the groomers.
Well, that there's always going to be psychological operations, undercover operations, counterintelligence stuff. Of course they're going to be undercover. Of course they're going to be watching as low-key and overtly as they can. Just like we got 3 guys coming up behind us because they're making their presence known, and then other ones are going to be much more subtle about it and kind of hide out, right?
Yeah.
How you guys doing tonight? Good stuff, man. It's all freedom. It's all love, guys.
Hey, those London, Ontario guys, I think they're very happy to be here. I saw them earlier. They were taking selfies because they probably came here with fear, thinking it's going to be hard for them.
Yeah.
And then they come here and it's it's nothing.
Right, because they're getting hyped up by all their department heads or captains or whatever, and they're probably thinking okay, we got to go defend, and then they come down here and realize it's all love.
Well,
people screaming freedom, people dancing, smiling, hugging.
Every Ottawa resident I've talked to says they like it. I talked to a female right here, actually. Everything happens here. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird spot. But it was over there, over the barricade, and she said she had a dog. It was 2 in the morning. She said, "I like walking down here." because there's eyes everywhere. I
Yeah.
feel safe for the first time as a woman walking at night.
Right.
And maybe I don't understand that, but, and it was, she said, I like it. She said, look at this street, how clean it is. And there was two Ottawa protesters way down there. They said, go home, go home, go home. And I tried to ask her why. And they said, because of the symbols of hate. And I said, where have you seen them other than the news? And she said, stop recording me. I said, okay.
Yeah.
I said, okay.
They know they can't argue. They can't even have a conversation about it.
Well, and then half an hour later, I saw a Polish immigrant and a Peru immigrant giving her shit, being like, you have no idea how lucky you are.
Right.
This is important. You shouldn't try and stop this protest.
And you see a lot of people from Europe, from those countries that were experiencing, like, you know, either overthrows of government or communism or just, you know, tyrannical rules or whatever you want to call it, and they recognize what's going on because they, I think, have a more recent memory of things and escaping that to come here to
Romanian
freedom.
over there.
I know, I've talked to those guys.
Sorry, I talked too much about myself.
No.
What you've been to G20 and other protests?
Yeah.
How many other protests have you been to?
You know what? Like the G20 was really when I first started, like kind of joining any big major protests, and I've been to several since then. But I mean, it's always been important to me that we stand up for our rights. You know, we stand up for our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. There are many things that, you know, I think are important to stand up for, and number one is the right to stand up. You know, and I think that's got to be paramount. No matter what you believe, we all have the right to have our own opinion. We all have the right to have a discussion, ideally, and we absolutely have the right to protest. So yeah, I've been at the G20 protests. I was unlawfully arrested there and detained, and sure enough, 10 years later, the government, the Supreme Court ruled that we were justly protesting, and they awarded all the people that were illegally arrested and harassed by police. I believe the Toronto Police Service had to pay like $20-some odd million to like thousands of people. So
that's nuts.
And
you were
there's
saying
still
to that,
cases ongoing.
Yeah, you saying to that CBC reporter, you were saying like, you've seen that, and then like there was way more civil disobedience there.
Absolutely,
Like this is people at night. It gets crazy because there's like raves and stuff. But like here, look at this. And I hate the copyright music because I'm gonna get demonetized later when I post this or whatever. It's the only thing I hate about that is they can actually block the view too.
Yeah.
I don't care about the money. It's just like I hate how it limits the view. Like in Germany, it won't play in Germany, so whatever.
That's weird.
Yeah, weird.
But no, and even in Toronto at the G20 protests, even when they burned cop cars, when there was, I think, a cop car burned, I totally believe that that was like incited by police. That cop car, if you look at what happened during the day, that cop car was left there unattended. Like, you don't just leave a police cruiser somewhere in the
like
middle of a main protest.
Yeah.
They did the same thing here. The first few days of the protest, there was a cruiser kind of in the middle of this stretch here where there is nothing else. It was just left there. And I really believe that, exactly, they do that to tease people, to try and tease out some violence, just like there was a bin of rocks left at another street and intersection. You know, they do that stuff all the time. That's been recorded at other protests.
But it's not working here.
It doesn't work here, exactly, because that's the thing. That's what you get if you're here. You feel the love that's palpable, that's undeniable, and that's why those little tricks, those plants, they don't work. You know, people come out.
It has worked at other protests, but I think people are starting to get smart. So,
and things, when you get a mass crowd like that, if you funnel it one way or the other, like, it can turn really bad or really good, you know. But when you get that mass of people, sometimes groupthink can happen. Like here, the groupthink, if anything, is love, you know, is freedom. There's really no groupthink. It's just unity and love, right?
The organizers have been very on top of, like, do not be rude to the cops, get them on our side, do not harass residents, do not do anything. And I've seen tons of other even people were talking about other pride festivals that leave trash everywhere. And I have nothing against those festivals because that happens. But here, people have been super clean.
Absolutely.
Streets are just beyond clean. And people cleared snow all day.
Yeah, there's a lot of manipulation that goes on so many levels. Media, government, you know what I mean? And on the ground too, there's a lot of manipulation of like police personnel and government personnel, whoever it may be. But yeah, that stuff happens, you know?
Here, one more question. So if I came over to your house and I was like, I'm not intimidated by you, and I started poking you in the chest, that would probably piss you off, right?
Yeah, it's not good to poke me in the chest.
Yeah, but that's what Trudeau basically did with his response. He said, we're not intimidated. Canada's not intimidated.
Yeah.
No, Canada's supporting.
Yes.
They're not intimidated. But then some people believe the narrative. Like, I got called a white supremacist when I got back to Montreal, and they just said, how?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
How?
It's insane.
And it's funny, a native guy way on the other end, he said, yeah, I got called a white supremacist too.
Yeah.
And it's just tons of all types of people here. Yeah. But they're making it seem like it's like the angry white man and like what are the words they use? White rage and toxic masculinity.
All kinds of bullshit, you know, trend phrases that are going around now that they try and
everyone's a
plant in people's
narcissist.
mind. Yeah, but it's all love, and that's the beautiful thing, you know, is that you can feel it here, and it's incredible. It's so special. I try and tell everybody that I see, that I talk to, I just try and let them know, like, the message of love that's here in unity, and it's so incredible, man. So many people have come up to me, and we've, like, exchanged words and sentiments, and they just start crying, you know what I mean? It's so much love. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much, and I'm really glad
you.
people swarmed him, but they were not aggressive. So, like, I'm really happy with that.
Me too.
I felt he felt a little overwhelmed at the end by someone else, not you, but I felt you had very good dialogue with him.
Yeah, I tried to just, you know, I try to talk to people, right? We're all the same, man. We're all human beings, right? We literally are all one. We just need to see that and come together, and we should never be afraid to have a conversation, right? It's okay to disagree, but at the end, we're all human.
It's
We're all
just
brothers and sisters.
people that disagree get loud and they start shouting, and it adds so much energy. People need to be calm.
Yeah,